I said, look, are you busy tomorrow? Do you want to come and work for us? And he was successful at it. And towards the end of the war, I said, what are you going to do? I think it was from Takova. He said, well, I'd like to go back to school, but my school has been burnt down.
Another evidence of why I know it impacted you, and you're not just saying this 25 years later because you're meeting me, is because you met a particular underage translator, a young 17, 16-year-old boy who spoke English, in a refugee camp. You employed him and helped his life since.
Yes, well, Arba, he was a nice boy who spoke English well. We needed a translator. He was clearly intelligent.
How did you find him?
He came up to me. I was in the town square in Kush in northern Albania, and there were people who had become refugees all around the place. And he came up and started, when I was waiting to do my live shot, he came up and started asking how it worked, what did we do, and I got talking to him, and he said that he'd actually come out that day with about 15 people crammed into a VW Golf. They'd taken out the back seat so everybody could squeeze in. And I said, well, so what are you going to do? Where are you sleeping tonight? He said, well, they're in the car, but I'll sleep out tonight because, I mean, the weather was fine. It wasn't a problem. But we really needed people to help us translate. So I said, look, are you busy tomorrow? Do you want to come and work for us? And he was successful at it. And towards the end of the war, I said, what are you going to do? I think it was from Takova. He said, well, I'd like to go back to school, but my school has been burnt down. So I got on to a school that my sister had gone to, an international school in Uells, where I come from, and managed to get him in there. They were keen to have someone from Kosovo.
I mean, Jeremy, you just picked up the phone
I did.
in an international school in Wales, UK.
I picked up the satellite phone that was perched on the bonnet of the armored Land Rover, like the one outside. And I called him up. Yeah, well,
from Cookers or from?
No, it was from somewhere in the middle of the countryside. I can't remember.
Okay.
I think we were hanging around because
we were filming. And you told the school,
I said, look,
refugee.
here's this boy. He's a refugee. He was kicked out of his country. He's worked for us. He needs to finish his education. Can you help? He said, sure.
They just said, sure.
Yeah.
From that September.
I didn't tell Alba, though, that he could get in straight away because I didn't want him to get overconfident. So I told him he's going to have to talk to the people and impress them.
Yeah.
But actually, he was going to get in whatever happened.
He was very bright.
He was a bright boy, and he did well. He went to university in America. And, you know, in a way, I wonder about interfering in people's lives like that because he stayed in America and he's a citizen there now. He works in, when I last heard from him a few years ago, he was working in Philadelphia in the insurance business. That's
one side of the coin, Jeremy. Yeah. The other side is Arba Rukmata did so well academically in United World Colleges that since '99 they have started a scholarship program that every year, first with 2 students, then with 10. Now it's about 10.
Really? Wow.
10 young.
They still do it.
Roughly about 10. 5 to 10 high school students of Kosovë are given scholarships in United World Colleges around
the world.
Wow. Not just Wales. So Arba opened up doors because he showed that it's not just because he knew one famous international journalist, BBC journalist, but it's because he worked at it, did well academically, open doors for the other Kosovars. So
I'll tell you another story. Well, that's really good news, and until you told me, I didn't know that. But I'll tell you another story. When he was going back for his second year, he'd come back for the summer, and he'd gone. I think he had to go to Skopje to get his visa renewed. And he called me and he said, "Look, there's a problem with the visa. I don't know what the problem is, but they're not giving it to me."
Yeah.
And I was back in Jerusalem, and. So I thought, oh yes. So there was a guy who was working for Tony Blair, who was the Prime Minister of the UK at the time. And I knew this guy who was working for him because he used to be BBC correspondent. And I called him and I said, look, here's the story. Here's this young lad who we've helped out and now is being educated in the UK. and he's having problems with his visa, and they're not going to give him his visa. He might not be able to go home, but go back to the UK for his second year. I said, I would hate to have to write about this. He said, I understand completely, don't worry. And I'm telling you, within 2 hours, he'd sorted out the whole thing.
Got the visa.
Yeah. Which again, you know, maybe I'm using my privileges in the media to do that, but I did think that I sort of felt a responsibility to at least let him finish what he was doing. And so, yeah, one of my colleagues, Kevin Bishop, sort of looked after him quite a bit when he was in the UK. He was a producer who'd spent a lot of time here. I was living in Jerusalem, so I was a long way off. Well, I'm very glad that there was a consequence that they take people from here, because they're amazing schools.